Hey guys, in this video let us try to understand the concept of regular expressions in Python, which is also called as regex. What is regular expression? Let's say you have a file or a document and you want to search for a specific email ID or a phone number in this document, then you can do this search by specifying the exact email ID or the phone number. However, let's say your document has thousands of different email IDs and thousands of different phone numbers, then searching for each of this email ID or each of this phone number one by one would almost be an impossible task. This is where regular expressions comes into picture. Using regular expressions, you can define a pattern for your email ID or for your phone number or for that matter for any other text and then search for this pattern in your given data. Even if your given data has millions of different email IDs and different phone numbers, using regular expressions, you should be able to search and extract all of these email IDs and phone numbers or for that matter any other text that you're searching for. There are only 4 steps that we need to follow in order to use regular expressions in Python. So to explain that, let's say I have a text here with me, so which has some dummy values, and I want to extract all the numbers from this text. The first step is to import the regular expressions module, which is RE. So just type import RE. All the functions and features that we need in order to use regular expressions is available in this module. So we need to first import this module. So this is my step number 1. The next step is to create the pattern. So in order to create the pattern, I can use the function called as compile, which is part of my RE module. And then inside this compile, I can pass the argument that is my pattern. So let's say, since I want to search for 3 digits, I can use a character class called as /d, and I repeat it 3 times because I'm trying to match it with 3 digits. So don't worry about this character class for now. I'm going to explain this in a short while. So for now, just remember that each of this digit is a regular expressions symbol or a character class. So /d matches with 1 digit. So since I want to match 3 digits, I'm using 3 times /d. Okay, and I'm going to assign this pattern into a variable. So let's say I create a variable like pattern. So and then I'm going to make this as a raw string. So what exactly is a raw string? So let's say if I have a print statement where I want to print something like old/new. Okay, so if I execute this program, you can see that even though I mentioned old/new, Python is printing like old. In the next line it's printing if, because this /n that I mentioned here is actually treated as a special character. That is, it's treated like a new line character. To avoid this kind of transformation done by Python, we can tell Python that treat this whole string as a raw string. So we can do that by just mentioning an R before the start of the string. So once I mention this as a raw string, then Python will treat this whole string exactly as it was given. So now if I execute this program, you can see that it's just printing old/new. So it doesn't interpret this /n as a new line character or anything else. So this is the advantage of using R. And when we are creating a pattern, to avoid any conflict, we try to always make this particular string as a raw string. So this is just a good practice. So this is my second step. So I just mark this as my step number 2. So once I have created my pattern, the third step is to try to match this pattern in my given string. So to do that, I'm going to create a variable like matches, and then I'm going to search for this pattern in and I'm going to use a function, let's say a search, and I'm going to search in the given text. Okay, so this is my step 3. What my step 3 is doing is I'm trying to search for this pattern in this particular text. Okay, and I'm going to use the method that is, or the function search. Okay, so what search will do is it will look for this pattern in the given text, and as soon as it finds a match, it's going to return that. So it's going to return and store it in this variable matches. Now I'm going to print this matches. So that's it. Now if I execute this program, so let me clear this, and if I execute this program, you can see that I'm getting the output. It's telling 1 to 3 is matched, and it's present in the 4th to 7th index. So this is the 4th to 7th index, and it has found 1 to 3. So this is what search method has done. But if you can see here, I have 1 to 3, I also have 4, 5, 6, I also have 100, but only one particular number or digit or pattern has been matched. This is because the search method only looks for the first possible match and returns that match. Now let's say if I wanted to match all the possible matches in this given string, or given input, then I can use a different method called as find iter. So this will basically return all the possible matches from the given input. So and it will return it into this particular variable. So in order to print this, I need to use a for loop, because the return variable from find iter is an iterator, so it will have multiple values. So let's use a for loop to print all of those values. So for, let's say, match in matches, and then I just do a print of match. Okay, so now if I execute this program, you can see that it's printing all the three matches. So it's printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 100, all the three numbers that were matched from this particular input. If we just want to print the exact match, we can just say match.group. This is also another function, so it will just return the whole matched value. So now if I execute this program, you can see that only the matched value is being returned now. So basically this is my step 4. So this is it. So I had my text, this one, and I wanted to search for numbers. So I just used regular expressions to search for numbers in the given string. So if I repeat, the first step is to import the module. The second step is to create a pattern. The third step is to search for that pattern in the given text. And the fourth step is to, in this case, I'm just extracting this pattern and printing it. If you want to perform any other task using the extracted values, you can do that in your program. So this is the whole flow of how we can use regular expressions in Python. Now, the most important step here is the second step, which is to create the pattern. Here I have created the most simplest of patterns that you can think of, but if I wanted to match some complex strings like an email ID, a URL, or a phone number, or a date, then I would have to write a little bit more complex patterns. So now let's try to understand the different symbols, character classes, and special characters that are available in regular expressions. First, let's look at the different character classes that are available in regular expressions which we can use in Python. So the first one is /d, which basically stands for digit character. So this /d will match with any digit from 0 to 9. So like what we saw in our previous program here, since I wanted to match the 3 digits, I just mentioned /d/d/d. So each of this /d will match with 1 digit. Since I wanted to match 3 digits, I just mentioned it 3 different times. Next we have /w, which stands for word character. So a /w will match any letter, a numeric digit, or an underscore character. And next we have /s, which stands for space character. It will match with a space, a new line, or a tab character. Next, we have /uppercase D. This basically is kind of a reversal of /lowercase d. So this /uppercase D, what it will do is, it will try to match with a character which is not a digit. So anything that is not a digit from 0 to 9 will get matched by using /D. Whereas /W or /uppercase W will match with any non-word character. So it's basically a reversal of /lowercase w. So /uppercase W will match with any character that is either not a letter, not a digit, and not an underscore. Okay. Similarly, the /uppercase S will match with any character that is not a space, a new line, or a tab character. Okay. So this should be pretty simple, right? These are all the character classes that are available. There are a few others as well, but it's not that widely used. You should be familiar with these first. So once you understand these character classes, next, there are a few symbols as well, which we can use in regular expressions. So these symbols or characters can be used along with these character classes to perform some specific task. So let's look at them one by one. The first one is the group character. Basically, we can group together multiple patterns into a single group. There are several advantages of grouping together multiple patterns into a single group. We are going to look at some examples in a short while. Let's look at the other characters. So we have plus and we have star. So basically what plus does is, if I indicate a plus next to the character class, then it will look for this particular character class either once or more than once. Similarly, star is almost similar to plus, but the difference is star will match even if there is no value. Next character is braces. If we want to repeat a particular pattern multiple number of times, then we can specify that number within the braces. So let's say if I wanted to match 3 different digits, then I could just type slash D, and then inside the braces I just mentioned 3. So this will match 3 different digits. For example, if I go back to my program that I wrote here, so I wanted to match 3 digits and I just mentioned slash D slash D slash D. I could also write the same one just by mentioning braces and putting a 3 here. Now if I execute this program, you can see that I'm going to get the same output, because whether I mention slash D slash D slash D or I just mention slash D and inside the braces 3, it basically means the same. So it's basically going to repeat the pattern 3 different number of times. There are other advantages of using braces as well. So if I wanted to look for a particular pattern in a particular range, so let's say I want to see if there are either 3 or up to 5 digits, then I can just mention 3 to 5. So minimum of 3 digits, or it will match for a maximum of 5 digits. So if I didn't want to mention a maximum number, so I could just do 3 comma. In this case, it would match with minimum of 3 digits up to any number of digits. Similarly, if I did not mention the minimum value, then this would match a minimum of 0 digits. So basically, even if there was no digit, this pattern would still match, and it would match up to a maximum of 5 digits. Okay, so this is what braces will do. The next character is a question mark character. It has 2 different meanings in regular expression. The first one is that it can be used to indicate an optional search. So let's say if I have a pattern like slash D, and if I indicate question mark after that, then it means that this slash D pattern is an optional pattern. So even if this pattern will match with a string or not, the whole overall match will still be successful. Okay, so it just makes a particular pattern as an optional pattern. Okay, the next use of using question mark is if you use a question mark after the braces, then it will indicate that you need to match with the shortest possible match. So to understand this, let's say you have a string like hi, 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 and your pattern is something like you just mention hi, put it inside the group. So this will be treated like a single character or something, hi, and then outside in the braces you just mention 1, 2, 3. So it will try to match minimum of 1, maximum of 3 number of times. Since I'm not using any question mark here, it will try to match with the maximum or the longest possible match, that is hi, hi, hi. Even though I'm trying to match just with 1 high, since this particular input has 3 different highs, it's trying to match with all the 3 and it's returning hi, hi, hi. But let's say if I wanted to do the shortest possible match, after the braces I could just mention a question mark. Since I mentioned question mark, it will try to do the shortest possible match. So it's trying to match with hi. Since it finds the shortest possible match after the second character itself, it's just going to return the first 2 characters, that is high. So this is how, by using question mark after braces, you can tell Python to do return the shortest possible match. The next character is the dot character. This is basically a special kind of character in Python where this will match with any values. So any values other than the new line character. The next character that we have is the square brackets. So this basically helps us to create our own character class. The character class that we saw here may not be sufficient to match all the characters. So let's say if I wanted to only match English alphabets A to Z, then I do not have any inbuilt character classes to perform that, because slash D will also match underscore and it will also match numbers, right? So that is why we can use square brackets. So inside square brackets, we can just mention all the characters that we want to match. So either I can just mention something like this. So if I wanted to match all the vowel characters, I could just mention A, E, I, O, U. So only these 5 characters will get matched. Okay. But if I use a dash, that is A dash Z, that means it will match from all the English alphabets which are lowercase. If I wanted to match all the uppercase English alphabets, then I can just mention uppercase A to uppercase Z. Okay. And then 0 to 9 will match for all the digits. The next character is the pipe character. This basically is something like an OR search. So basically it will try to match with a character that is mentioned on the left hand side of the pipe, or it will try to match with a character that is mentioned on the right hand side of the pipe. Don't worry if this looks a little confusing, because very soon we are going to write programs and use different patterns where we are going to use all of these symbols, which should make it much simpler for you to understand regular expressions. So going ahead, the next character is the caret symbol. So the caret symbol has 2 different meanings in regular expression. And the first one is that it can be used to match the beginning of the text. So let's say you want to only match a text which starts with a specific value, then you can use the caret symbol. So this is one meaning of using the caret symbol. The second meaning is that if I use a caret symbol inside my square brackets like this, So basically, if I mentioned the vowel characters inside the square brackets without the caret symbol, then this would match with every character that is a vowel character. But since I'm using a caret symbol here, then what it will do is it will try to match every character that is not a vowel character. So this basically does a reversal of what your square bracket would do. Okay. The last character that we are going to look here is the dollar symbol, which is basically used to match the end of the text. So if I wanted to look for a text which is ending with a particular character, then I can just mention that character and then mention a dollar at the end. Lastly, we also have a list of special characters. These are all the characters which have special meaning in regular expressions. So if you want to write a pattern where you want to specifically search for these characters, then you need to escape these characters. How you can escape these characters is by just adding a backslash before using these characters. Now we are going to use all of this and write programs. Hopefully that will be a better way for you to understand the concept and how to use regular expressions. So I have a text here with me. So in this text I can see that I have a few dates and I have few email IDs mentioned. I also have a few phone numbers. Okay, so now we are going to write a program using regular expressions to match through these dates, email IDs and phone numbers. So let's start by trying to write a program which will match all the dates. Okay, so as I told you, the first step in using regular expression is to import the regular expression module, which is the import RE. So once I have imported this module, the next step is to create the pattern. So let's say I'm going to name this date pattern. So first I'm going to search all the dates in this string. So let's say now in order to create this pattern, I just say re.compile and then I just pass a raw string. So I need to create my pattern here. Now let's start by looking at these three dates. So these three dates, I have the first two characters are a digit, it's followed by a dash, and then it's followed by three letters, then again followed by a dash, and then again followed by four digits. So this is what we know, and this format is the same across all these three dates. So first let's try to write a pattern which will match this format, okay, this date format. So we know that first two digits, first two characters are a digit, so I just type /d/d because I know that /d will match with any digit from 0 to 9. The next one is a dash, so I can just straight away put a dash. So and then followed by three letters. So I can mention letters by using the word character class, but then the problem with word character class is it will also match an underscore and also a digit, but I only want to match it with three letters. So in such cases where I want to match only a specific character class, specific set of characters, I can use a symbol which is basically the square bracket. So this square bracket symbol is basically used to create your own character class. So how we can do that is I can just open a square bracket and close the square bracket. Inside this I can mention all the characters that I want to match. So in this case I want to match all the English alphabet. So I just say A to Z. So when I mention A-Z, it will match from everything from A to Z. So all the 26 English alphabets. But here I have mentioned this in lowercase, but I also want to cover the uppercase. So in this case I just mention capital A dash capital Z. So what this will do is any character that is at the range of A to Z in lowercase and A to Z in uppercase will get matched. Okay, but then I know that there will always be three letters in this month format, right? So in order to mention three letters, one thing that I can do is I can just repeat it three times. So 1, 2, 3, but this is not the best way of doing it. So the best way of doing it is by using braces. So if I go back to my symbols, here I have another symbol which is the braces symbol. This symbol is basically used to indicate whenever you want to repeat a pattern a few number of times, then you can specify that number inside the braces. So I just open my braces, I mention 3 and close the braces. So now what this will do is it will try to look for this alphabet 3 times. Okay, so this is how we have tried to match the month. Next we again add a dash because we know that the separator here is a dash, and then I know that there will be 4 digits. So 4 digits I just mentioned /d/d/d/d/d. I can do this. This is also fine, but then instead of repeating the digit 4 times, I can use the same concept here, that is of using braces. So I just mentioned /d once and then I write 4. inside my braces. So what it will do is it will try to match 4 different digits. I can apply the same thing even in the beginning here. So I just mentioned /t, I remove this and I mentioned 2. So now what happens is, this is my pattern. This pattern should be able to match all of these dates here. So the next step is now to search for this pattern in the given text. To do that, I will create a variable called as matches, and I'm going to search for this pattern dot, I'm going to use the method find iter, and I'm going to enter my text here. So this will search for this pattern in this text, and this find iter will return an iterator value. So all the possible values will be returned by this. It will be stored into this variable matches, and then I'm going to print the values. So I'm going to use a for loop for match in matches, and then I just do a print match, and then I'm using a group, so I just display the exact matched result. Okay, so now if I execute this program, I'm getting an error. Okay, so I do not have something like pattern. I created a variable like date pattern. So let me give the proper name, and then let me execute again. So now you can see that it's returning 3 dates. So it's matched the first date, it's matched the second date here, and it's matched the third date. So basically we have used the character class /d, and then we have used the braces to repeat the digit. We have created our own character class by using the square brackets, and then completed this pattern, and finally we are able to scan through this text and then extract all the dates. So this is fine. But then if you see here, we also have 3 more dates, but the problem is that these dates are in different format. So this date here, instead of APR, it's mentioned like 04. So here instead of dash, it's mentioned like dot, and here the separator is a slash. Now let us try to modify this pattern so it will match any possible dates present in this text. Okay, to do that, the first thing that we need to check is, we see that the first 2 characters in all of these dates is still 2 digits. Okay, even here, and even here. So that means this particular part of our pattern will work fine, so we don't need to change that. The next thing is a separator. In the first 3 dates, we had the separator as a dash, and here also we have a dash, but here we have a dot, and here we have a slash. So the possible values of a separator are dot, slash, and dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own character class. So I just open a square bracket, and I'm closing it here, and then here I'm going to pass all the possible values that can be a separator. So I know it's going to be a dash, it might also be a dot, and it might also be a slash. Okay, so one thing to remember is, I told you that dot is a special character, and when you're using a special character you need to use a backslash. But there is an exception. Whenever you're using any character inside a square bracket, you don't need to escape it. So even if you're using a special character inside a bracket, you can just mention it as it is, because Python will treat it as the character mentioned here. Okay, so this is my separator here. So this separator here is going to look for values which are either a dash, dot, or a slash. So I'm going to use the same separator here as well. Okay, so this is fine. The next thing is the month. So in the month, I have actually defined the month to be an alphabet, which is going to be of three alphabets basically. Now I know that it can either be an alphabet letter, or it can also be a number. So if it's a letter, it's going to be 3 characters long, and if it's going to be a number, it's going to be 2 characters long. So what we are going to do is, first I'm going to create this, I'm going to put this whole month into a group. So I'll put this into a group, so inside a group. Now inside this group, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pipe character. As I told you previously, the pipe character that we have here is basically going to do an OR match. So whenever we want to do an OR match, meaning that it has to either be this or it has to either be that, in that case we can use a pipe character. So my month is something like 3 letters, then this particular pattern is going to do the match. But let's say if the month is 2 numbers here, then I need to add another pattern here. So another pattern would be like /d, and I know it's going to be 2 digits. So 2 digits. Okay, so now what's going to happen is, since I mentioned whole of this into a group and I have a pipe character here, so what it will do is it will either try to match this pattern or it will try to match this pattern. So my first pattern here will try to match with 3 letters, and my second pattern here, which is on the right hand side of the pipe character, will match for 2 numbers. This pattern should work to match my month. And next, my separator, I have already changed it. So my separator, even if it is dash, dot or slash, it will get matched. And finally, we have the year, which is the 4 digits. So I don't need to make any changes here. Now, I have modified my pattern, so let me execute this program. Let's see if it's able to now catch all the dates. And it's working fine. So you can see that the first 3 dates were extracted and the last 3 dates which are present in this particular line are also extracted. So even though these dates are in different formats, because I modified my pattern such that it would match any of these date formats, the program is working fine and I'm able to extract all the dates. Now, let us create another pattern to match our email IDs. So to do this, what I'm going to do is first let me maybe comment out this line, these things, and create another pattern here. So let's say I'm going to create a pattern like email pattern. Okay, so the same process, re.compile, and here I just mention my raw string and here is my pattern. So let's look at our email. So I can see that our email will always have a username, then an @ symbol, and then followed by a domain, and then followed by .com, or it can also be .co.in, something like this, right? So let's write a pattern which is going to match all of these email IDs and return to us. In the beginning, let's try to focus only on these 2 email IDs because the format of these 2 email IDs are almost similar. This one is slightly different because it has a .co.in. We'll come to that later. So we can see that the username is having either letters or digits, or it can also have underscore. So we know that our character class W will match a letter, a digit or an underscore. So we can straight away use a /W here. But then the number of /Ws, because I'm not sure how many characters are present here. So here there are a different number of characters and here there are different number of characters. So when we have such cases, what we can use is we can use a symbol called as plus. So what plus does is, if I go back to symbols, plus will match 1 or more characters. So I'm doing a /W, so this will match for a letter, digit or underscore, and then I have a plus. So even if there is one such word or if there is multiple such letters, it will be a match. So this one should work. So all my username, whether it has a letter, digit or an underscore, will get matched by this particular pattern. So followed by an @ symbol. So I know that email will always have an @, so I can straight away put an @ symbol here. And then next I have the domain. So I know that domain name generally will not have a number or an underscore. It would just be an alphabet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own character class similar to what I created here previously. So inside this character class, I'm going to just mention A to Z. I know that it's not going to be an uppercase. It's always going to be a lowercase, hopefully. So I'm just trying to make a character class and I just say that A to Z. So all the alphabets, all the lowercase alphabets will get matched here. But then I don't know how many characters. Here I see I have 5 characters. Here there are only 4 characters. So I just put a plus. So when I say plus, it's just going to match either 1 or more such characters. Okay. Next, I need to find a pattern which will match the .com or .net. So to do that, first let's try to match the dot. Since dot is a special character, so if I go back to my special character tab, you can see that dot is a special character. So if I want to match a dot, I need to mention it like \dot. So I just mention \dot, and then after this, I know that there's going to be three letters, right? So I just create my own character class. So let's say I mention A to Z. Okay, and I know it's going to be 3. So 3 such characters, right? So if I try to read this pattern again, what I'm doing is I'm using a /W. So this will match for any letter, digit or underscore, and it's going to see if there is any 1 or more such characters. So after that, there should be an @, it will match with an @, and then there is a character class where I'm looking for lowercase alphabets. Again, I'm going to use an plus, so even if there is one such character or more than one, it will match. Then followed by a dot, I'm using an a backslash dot, because dot is a special character and I'm trying to exactly match with a dot. And then I'm having another character class A to Z, all the lowercase letters, and I'm saying that there will be 3 such lowercase letters. Okay, so this is my pattern for email. Now the next 2 steps are again the same. So I just create a variable matches equal to email pattern dot, I'm going to use find iter and this one, and I pass my input text, and then I say, or then I'm going to use my for loop for match in matches, and I just print the match dot group. Okay, so now if I execute this program, you can see that the output of this program is I'm getting 2 different email IDs. So the my name 2020@dummy.com and ask help at demo.net, both these email IDs have been extracted by this pattern. But we also have another email ID which has a slightly different format. So the username should be fine. This pattern should be able to fetch. So we have an at and demo, that is all fine. But the last, that is the .com, here it is mentioned as .co.in. So now we will have to modify our pattern so it will match this kind of email address as well. So to do that, I know that up to this domain name, there will be no changes. So I am not going to touch that. After this domain name, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of this into a group. So I create a group like this. Okay, so inside my group, first thing I'm going to match is with a dot, and then I'm going to match with an alphabet, which is looking for 3 alphabets. But here I only have after dot 2 alphabets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2, 3. It's going to look for an alphabet minimum of 2 number of times and maximum of 3 number of times. So basically even a CO, because it has 2 letters, will get matched, and even a COM which has 3 letters will get matched. Okay, so a dot and then followed by either 2 letters or 3 letters will get matched, and then whole of this I have put inside a group, and then I'm going to say a plus. So meaning that because after .co I also have .in, so this whole thing, even if it is present more than once, it should still match. That is why I'm using a plus. Okay, now if I execute this program, you can see that even the last email ID is being fetched. So basically we have written a pattern which is now able to match all of the email IDs, even if they are in slightly different formats. Okay, I hope this was clear. Finally, let's try to write another pattern which will match all the phone numbers. Okay, so let me comment out this line and let me just write it here. So in order to find all the phone numbers, I'm going to create another pattern like phone pattern equal to re dot compile and raw string. Okay, so now again it's time to create the pattern. So as you can see, this phone number here, the first phone number here starts with a +6. There is a +6 in the second phone number as well, but in the third phone number there is no +6. Okay, so it means that I need to first write a pattern which is going to handle this +6. So it should be an optional pattern. So in order to do that, I know that the first character is a plus, but then plus is a special character, as you can see here. Plus is a special character. So all the special character we need to use an escape, we need to escape it. So that is why I'm going to use a backslash, and then I know that there's going to be a digit. So I just put all of this into a group. So this is my group. So inside my group, first it's going to look for a plus symbol, and then it's going to look for a digit. And this whole group, I'm going to make it like a question mark. So meaning that this whole thing is an optional pattern. So if there is a phone number which has a plus and a digit, it's going to match. Even if there is a phone number which does not have a plus and a digit, it's still going to match. Okay, so we have handled this. The next thing is we see that there are 3 digits, right? In all of these phone numbers we have 3 digits. So in order to handle 3 digits, I just write /d and then open my braces and mention 3. So this will match for 3 digits, and then followed by a dash. So I just put, but I see that I have a dash here, but in the next phone number I have a dot, and in the next phone number I have a dash. So it can either be a dash or a dot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own character class, and I'm going to say either it's going to be a dash or a dot. So this character class should be able to handle both these phone numbers. So whether this phone number has a dash or whether it has a dot, it should still be able to match that. And after this dash, then followed by 3 digits. So again, I just mentioned /d, open the braces and close the braces. I mentioned 3 here, so this will match for 3 digits. After 3 digits, I see that there is a space here, and here also there is a space. But here, after this 3 digit, I don't see any space. So it means that there can either be a space or the space may not be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a \yes, which because \yes, as I told you here, is actually stands for a space character. So, and then I have spaces here, but I do not have spaces in this particular phone number. So this space has to be an optional search. So I just make it optional by entering a question mark after this \yes. So we have now handled this pattern up to this particular section. The last 4 characters are digits in all the 3 phone numbers. So I just mentioned like /d, and then inside the braces I just mentioned 4. So hopefully this pattern should be able to match all of these phone numbers. Let's proceed. Let's write now the matches equal to the same thing, like phone pattern dot find iter, and then I mention my text, and then here I just play. So in order to display this, I use a for loop for match in matches, and then I just print this, print match dot group. Okay, so now if let me just clear this and execute this, you can see that this pattern is now able to match all the 3 phone numbers. So even though there were the format of these phone numbers were different, this pattern was able to handle it. So this is how we can use regular expressions to match any type of text. You just need to know how to write a pattern. So it might take some time for you to understand how different patterns work and how different symbols and different character classes and different special characters in regular expressions work. But once you get a hold of it, you need to practice. It's actually pretty simple. So now let me just comment out all of these lines. And if I execute the whole program now, you can see that from this particular text, I'm able to extract all the phone numbers, all the email IDs, and all the dates. Okay, so this is how regular expressions can be really useful in extracting the data that you want. So if I go back to my Excel here, I mentioned, so we have seen all these character classes, which should be pretty simple, and we have seen most of these symbols as well. There are a few symbols that we have not seen, like the caret symbol and the dollar symbol and also the star symbol. So let's write some programs to see how we can use that. So let me go back to my VS Code and let me just create another program. So I'm just going to save it like demo3.py, and let me just close this. So here let me just import my module, import RE. I'm going to create a dummy text. So let's say my dummy text would be something like hi, how are you? Okay, and so what I'm trying to do here is I want to match a text where it starts with a hi and always ends with the question mark. Okay, to do that I'm going to create my pattern. So let's say pattern equal to re dot compile, and here I just mention so I know that my text has to always start from hi. So I just put this together into a group, and I know that it should start with a hi, so I just use the caret symbol. So if I go back to my symbols, the caret symbol is used when you want to match a particular text in the beginning of the particular character in the beginning of the text. So I want to make sure that the beginning of my text is always a hi, so I put this together into a group. So this will be treated as a single character or something like that, and then I know that by using caret I tell Python or the regular expression that the first character always has to be a hi, and then followed by it can have anything, right? So what I do is I'm going to use a dot character, because as I told you, a dot character can match anything. So it will match anything or any character other than the new line character. So I just put a dot, but there can be more than one characters here. So I just put a dot and then I put a star. So what star does is, even if there is a character or if there is no character, this will still do a match. Okay, so I'll explain you further, but now let's proceed. So, and at the end I want to match with a question mark. So but the question mark, as you can see here, is a special character. So in order to use a special character, I need to escape it. So I just mention like backslash question mark, and then I put a dollar symbol. So what dollar symbol does is, it's going to make sure that it's only going to match this text if the text will end with a question mark. The last character is a question mark. Okay, so now I have created my pattern. Now again the same steps. I need to search for this pattern in the text and then fetch those results. So to do that, I create matches equal to pattern dot find iter. I pass my text and then I just use for loop for match in matches. I just print this. So I just say match dot group. Okay, so if I execute this program now, let me clear this. Okay, so if I execute this program now, you can see that it's printing hi, how are you? So this whole string has been matched. But let's say instead of this hi, I just made it like hi, lowercase hi, and if I execute this, you can see that it's not extracting anything, because these are case sensitive. So I'm trying to match for an uppercase H and I, but here I have a lowercase, it does not match, hence there is no result. So let me go change it back to capital I, and now if I execute, you can see that there is a match and it's returning that whole match. Now let's say if I remove this question mark, or after this question mark, let's say if I add a space, if I execute this program, you see that there is no result because I'm using a dollar here. So what this means is the last character has to be what I mentioned here, that is a question mark. So if I enter a space, it does not work. Now let's say that I remove all of this. So I remove all of this, and just there is the first character that I'm looking for hi, and the last character that I'm looking for question mark. So I need to have an escape character here. If I run this program now, it will still work. It's still returning what I have in my text. The reason is I'm using a dot. Dot will match with anything, but after dot I'm using a star, and star, what it will do is it will try to match 0 or more number of times. So if I go back here and if I see my symbol, it's telling matches 0 or more characters. So even if there is no characters, or if there is more than one characters or one character, it will still do a match. So even if I had anything mentioned here, any value, okay, so my star would be able to match. So if I execute this, you can see that the whole string is getting returned. So this is how we can use star, the caret symbol and the dollar symbol. I hope this was clear. Now the last thing that I want to explain in regular expression is the sub method, which is used to substitute a particular value. To explain the sub method, I'm going to create a new program. So let's say I'm just going to save it like demo4.py, and let me just clear this. So here I'm just going to do an import RE, because that's the most basic step. And then let's say I have a text here. I already created this text. So what this text is, I have like my income in 2019 is $85,000, and then but now it is $120,000. Okay, so this is my text. Now let's say I want to modify this text such that I want to hide the amount. This is a confidential piece of information, so I want to hide it with some other values. So in such cases, I can use a method called as sub, which is available in our regular expression. So to use that, what I just need to do is, first I need to create a pattern to match the string which I want to replace. So let's say pattern equal to re dot compile, and then I just mention my pattern here. So in order to capture this pattern, I know that it always starts with a dollar, but dollar, as you can see here, is a special character. So I need to use backslash, so backslash dollar, and then followed by some digits, and it also can have a comma. So I create my own character class by using the square brackets, and I mention 0 to 9, so it will match for any digit from 0 to 9, and also a comma, so it will also match for a comma. And I say it's going to be present more than once. Okay, once or more than once. Okay, so now this is my pattern. So this pattern will match for this amount as well as for this amount. And after the pattern is created, the next step that I need to do is I need to, let's say I do a matches, or yeah, so let's say I do a matches equal to pattern dot sub, and inside my sub, so this basically stands for substitute or kind of a replace. There will be two arguments. The first argument here is the value that you want to replace it with. So let's say I want to replace that amount with something like a star star star, okay? And then the next argument is the text itself, the input. So what happens is, now it's going to search for this pattern in this text, and if it finds a match, it's going to replace that match with this particular value that I passed here. Okay, so now let me just print my matches. Since I'm not using a find iter here, so it's not going to return me multiple values. It's just going to replace the whole string with this whatever it matches this value, and it's going to replace it with this string. So I just print matches here. So now if I execute this, you can see that, just to be more clear, let me execute it again. You can see that it's printing the whole statement, but it's replaced the dollar this amount with this star. Okay, so this is basically how we can use the sub method to search for a particular pattern and then replace that pattern with some text that we have mentioned here. Okay, so I hope all of this was clear. I believe this was a pretty long session, but regular expression is not a very simple topic to understand. You need to practice. If you have any doubts, then please make sure to leave a comment. I'll try to clarify those doubts as much as I can. If you like this video and if you found this useful, please make sure to like and share this video with friends and colleagues who may be interested in learning regular expressions. Thank you.